Uh,
Can
can you hear me now? You guys can hear me now? Awesome. All right. Well, I'm Spencer. You guys all have received plenty of emails from me already. Thank you guys for your patience as I've really excited to be out there on the field with you guys. But yeah, I'm excited about this. Back to you, Jess.
Yeah, the good news about this bad winter that we just had is that the fields are in great shape out at Quinn's Junction. And so we're looking forward to getting outside and playing. Days like today, it's hard to resist getting outdoors. So we're excited to get the kids outside. We'll see how the weather holds up throughout the course of the season. And we'll talk a little bit about how we'll mitigate that throughout the season as well tonight. So
This is my house.
I do just want a couple of sort of housekeeping things first. I am recording this meeting. We've got a couple of coaches who maybe couldn't make it this evening, so we want to be able to make sure that they're on the same page and get all of the information. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. As well, please make sure that you are muted unless you have a question. We'll do some time at the end for questions, but if you have something important, you can go ahead and throw it into the chat as well. And we can try and answer it that way also. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we're actually going to go through this as kind of a presentation here. So one sec. Okay, so hopefully everybody is able to see that now. So first things first is just our agenda. We've already done some introductions. So I think Spencer, you're taking this first part, but if I'm wrong about that, you can correct me and I'll go through it. We did. Most importantly, we just want to thank you guys for volunteering your time. All of our youth sports programs, whether that's run by Park City Recreation or Basin Recreation, we rely on volunteer coaches in these recreational leagues. And so whether you are here because you volunteered or maybe we tried to coerce you a little bit, just thank you so much for putting your time out there. The kids are going to appreciate it and we really appreciate it too.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to mimic what Jess said. A lot of you guys were really prompt in getting back to me and volunteering. And so I appreciate it. I can't see your hands right now. But if we have any first year coaches, I want to especially thank you guys. Hopefully we'll make this season a memorable one that you guys will want to come back to. And I will definitely do my best to make it a fun and easy year. To start off, volunteer applications in all of my emails to you guys, there was a link to apply for the volunteer coach for this season. We need these processed and returned promptly so that you guys can get out there and coach. If you have not received the consent email yet, let me know and I will reach out to HR so that they can resend those. And then we can get the background check all started. And I will be in touch just to give you guys the green light before the first practice, just to kind of share where we are in that process with HR. As far as coaching credits, I use this a little bit to coerce some coaches into this, but as coaches for helping us out, you guys will receive a 50% refund to the season league fee. These will be refunded in the next couple of weeks. I have about 40 to 50 to process, so I appreciate your patience throughout this process. And so in addition to that, I will also be printing out punch passes. Each coach will get a 5 punch pass to the PC Mark that you guys can use as facility, just admittance into the facility, but it also will cover fitness classes as well as a drop-in. The only thing it does not cover is court time. But I'm sure many of you guys have already come to the PC Mark before. And so just kind of ending my part, I really want to tell you guys that I'm appreciative of your patience throughout this process as I'm learning how this program runs, and for your guys' willingness to volunteer. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Spencer. Okay. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about coach expectations. I think that most of you guys have probably seen the coaching job description that we put out. So I'm not going to go through that word for word, but I just want to point out a couple of sort of important things. As a coach in this league, there are a few things to remember, and primarily that is the goals of our league. This is a recreational league. It's designed to teach players soccer skills, teamwork, and sportsmanship in an environment where things are a little more relaxed. Participation and fun are the focus, not winning. We don't keep score in any division in this league. So that, in and of itself kind of lends us more towards, the kids learning the games, learning the skills, and just participating and having a good time with their friends out there. We'll talk probably a couple different times about things that will be sort of helpful tips for coaches. But one of those is that you make sure that you meet with your parents pretty early on in the season. And most divisions, the first 2 or 3 meetings that you'll have are going to be practices. And primarily, you could use at least the first one to hand out equipment, communicate the league rules, talk about the schedule, maybe even coordinate snacks with another parent who might be willing to take that part on, so you guys don't have to do everything. And then coordinating subs, that will be probably your primary role during the course of a game. And you may want to share that responsibility with another parent on the team. So just remember that you're not in this alone. A lot of times parents will initially say that they, aren't willing or able to coach, but everybody is typically available and willing to help out. So your other expectations include organizing and running practices for the team, which we'll talk more about soon. We want to ask everybody to be respectful and cooperative with referees and the other Park City Recreation staff that's out there, other coaches, parents, and the players. We do that every season. We put that out there and want to make sure that everybody's following the code of conduct and, being respectful. But in particular, in the times that we're in right now, we're having a really difficult time, similar to everybody else, it seems, fully staffing our programs and our facilities. And so the people that are there deserve a little bit of credit for showing up. So please just be respectful and understand that again, this is sort of a learning environment and a fun environment, and that should be the focus. Keeping track of equipment to return at the end of the season. So balls and cones that will be in each coaching bag will come back to us, and we'll collect that the last meeting. The uniforms, so jersey, shorts, and socks, are for your players to keep. And then finally, you just want to set an example regarding sportsmanship, fairness, and equal play. Your kids and your parents are, looking to you to sort of set the tone for the season. And so if you're having fun, they're going to have fun out there. Anybody have any questions on that stuff? Okay. So speaking of practices, there is a youth sports coaching app called Mojo that is a free download from the App Store or I think the Google Play Store. And this app is outstanding. It will basically walk you through any sort of practice that you want to set up. You can choose the date of practice, the time, like if you've only got an hour, if you've got a half an hour, hour and a half, and you can choose the skill level of your kids and some focus areas of things that you want to work on. And it basically will set you up with a complete practice. You can see some of these dribbling and I want to be like, and a scrimmage, like the different things that pop up here. And it will walk you through this 15-minute drill, a 10-minute drill, give you videos on how it works and suggestions for talking points. And so we highly recommend that everybody download this app. If you are a soccer player or if you've coached before, it may just give you some new ideas of things to work on. Or if you're brand new to the sport and you're just out there willing to have fun with the kids, you'll be able to learn a lot from that app as well. In terms of the first practice that you'll hold, this one really is primarily to hand out uniforms. It might be a good idea to do a getting to know you or a name game of some sort. And I thought this was a great suggestion that Lauren had in her notes, that the coaches sit down with the kids, excuse me, and ask the kids what they believe makes a good teammate. Maybe you can come up with some other questions to ask them as well. But while I think it's outstanding because it really involves the kids in the league and in the season, I think it also gives you an opportunity to refer back to those things whenever you have, maybe a player who's not being cooperative or they're not being very sportsmanlike. You're able to remind them of what we all agreed on at that first practice makes a good teammate, or will make us successful this season. And it just helps create a positive experience there. This is a short season. This spring league can be tricky because of weather, and because we're trying to kind of fill a short span of time. It starts almost immediately at the end of spring break and then ends right the weekend after school finishes. So realizing that people are out of town and that sort of thing, it does come up, including this year with that first practice, which is scheduled for Saturday, April 16th. Again, it doesn't have to be anything really involved, but we wanted to give you guys the opportunity to meet with your teams, with the people that are in town, hand out equipment if possible. So hopefully that works out that way. And then, like I said, teams will have more practices for the first couple of meetings anyway, if that doesn't. Okay, rosters, schedules, and rules. One thing that I wanted to point out was this hyperlink right here. I am going to show you guys. Let me see if I can. Spencer, can you see our website, or are you still looking at the slideshow?
Still the slideshow.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that. And I'm going to share this screen. So, okay, can you see the Spring Youth Soccer League site now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if you were to visit our website, which is www.parkcityrecreation.org, it would take you to our homepage. When you're on our homepage, on the left-hand side here, this left navigation, under recreation programs, we have a couple of pages designed specifically for some of our bigger programs, and Spring Youth Soccer is one of those. If you go to this website, it really is going to have all the information that you will need for this league season. We will update the contact information on here, but I just wanted to point this out to you because it's also a great resource to share with your parents. They'll see the weather hotline listed there. There is a parent information packet that will or has gone out to every parent in the league that gives some important information about location and the rules and all of that stuff, expectations, frequently asked questions. So that's a great resource for them. There are some facts about concussions, which we take very seriously in Rec World. So hopefully that doesn't come up or there's no incident of that, but we do have information on that to reference. The league rules for all the divisions are on here. The game schedules for all the divisions are on here. There are some practice plans that might come in handy if either in addition to that app or if you'd like to use those instead of the app. So just wanted to kind of give you that resource on there right off the bat. Okay, so then I'm going to go back to our slideshow. Okay, so players are put on teams based on the school that they attend. And we made this change along with Basin Recreation at least a decade ago now, where we stopped taking requests. With 375 kids in the league, you can imagine that that would be, a big job to try to put everybody where they request to be, either with their friends or with a certain coach. Fall soccer that Basin runs is even bigger, with more participants. So really what we tried to do is create teams where people could carpool together if they needed to. And so that's why we base them on the school that they attend. It's not a perfect process, but we do our best with that. And if kids registered after the deadline, the chances are they got added to whichever team had open spots on it. So you might see some discrepancy there in terms of, the school that they attend, but ultimately they're all going to be together at some point, at Ecker and at Treasure. So they will hopefully, make some friends over this season. Divisions will play on the same 1 or 2 fields each week. And I'm going to quickly show you 2 other things that I have pulled up here. The first is an overview of the Park City Sports Complex. So many of you are probably familiar with the Park City Sports Complex, and the fields that we're going to be using are the ones that are right next to the ice rink. This stadium field here, and then this is what we call the stadium softball field. And so those are the 2 that we'll primarily play on. If there are some weather concerns and instead of postponing or canceling games or practices, we decide to hold them on the artificial turf field. That one is located down here. It's sometimes referred to as Field C, but that is our artificial sports field that we'll also maybe occasionally play on. So hopefully you guys can follow this around. Like when you turn in off Kearns, you take Gilmore Way all the way around to the ice arena. And primarily, I think people will want to be parking in the ice arena parking or possibly in the playground parking here and taking the pathway over to the fields. There is some parking located at the USSA building. And I don't know if you guys can actually see my cursor or not, but this is the parking for USSA. So if instead of turning into the sports complex, you continued on Round Valley Way, your first left would be up to the USSA building. And they're primarily there during the week and not on Saturdays. So if your team is playing on the stadium softball field and that's closer for you, then that should be an option as well. Okay, the other one that I wanted to show you is a layout of the fields. So you can see on the left, the ice rink is listed there. And on what we call our stadium field, there are actually going to be 7 fields. So they're for fields 1 through 4 are the smallest for our youngest division. They're 30 by 20 yards and they use small pug goals. Fields 5, 6, and 7 are for our first and second grade division. So they're slightly bigger. The goals are slightly bigger as well. And then the final 2 are our biggest fields that are used for our third and fourth grade division. They're located in the outfield of that stadium softball field. And again, are larger and using 6 by 12 foot goals there because that division will play with goalkeepers. I thought I'd show this to you guys because as you can see, the fields are numbered and on your schedules that you have, the field numbers listed on there as well. We will have, a layout like this at the check-in desk on the first day of practice so that we can make sure we'll be there all the time. So we'll be able to direct people to the field that they're scheduled on, but just wanted to show this to you guys to give you an idea. Okay. Back to our slideshow. Okay. Like I mentioned already, the practices start on April 16th for all divisions. We did try our best to avoid conflicts for parents that are coaching more than one team. Again, that's not a perfect process. And so there may occasionally be a time where your coach might have a conflict because they've got more than one child in the league. And if that's the case, that's a perfect time to ask another parent on the team to take over for the day. Usually that could be as little involvement as just like running subs, like telling the kids who starts and when to go in, or, you know, they can take on the coaching responsibilities and try and help, you know, process any goals that you have for the season. And hopefully they're on the same page just by being in attendance, but you can also, you know, set up a time to go through that with them, and hopefully someone will step up for you. Rules we're going to go over in just a second. And then again, I mentioned that parent packet that is going to be emailed out to all of the parents as well. When you're at the field, actually, hold on just one second. Okay. When you're at the field, I mentioned the rec table that will be located right between the parking at the ice rink and the fields. And so you'll walk right by this person. We'll have a field supervisor located there. And this is where you'll want to bring any concerns or questions. Our plan is to hopefully have that table staffed every week, but occasionally this person might get pulled out to referee a game or something like that. And so your field supervisor at this table is your first point of contact. Other than that, the referees on the first and second and third and fourth grade fields are also good contacts. But they'll have a first aid kit there. They'll have a binder that has all of the rosters and all the schedules. You'll be able to pick up your punch passes at this table. Spencer already mentioned those. Those are, you know, your punch card. As a thank you, you get to come here to the mark 5 times and take advantage of everything that we've got going on here, including the pools this summer. In regards to the fields, you know, please pick up after your team. We will have trash cans set out, spread out across the field so that one is never too far away, and just try to encourage your kids to make sure that anything they brought with them, you know, they either take home with them or they put in the trash can. Report any safety concerns to your referee or to that field supervisor at the table. We want to make sure that, you know, there aren't any issues with stakes in the field, or, you know, really big divots or holes or something that someone could trip in, or, you know, the goals aren't tipping over, that kind of stuff. Finally, the weather hotline. And this information is, you know, the phone number is actually on that Spring Youth Soccer League website. So your parents will see all of that, and I hope that you guys will encourage your parents to use this to determine whether or not games will be played or practices will be held if the weather is questionable. The tricky thing about this weather hotline to remember is that on Saturdays, it'll be updated at 8 a.m. So that means if you call at 7:45, you may hear an old message, or you're not going to get the information that you're looking for. We wait as long as we can to make that decision because weather changes so quickly here. You know, one minute it's pouring and the next minute the sun is shining. So we want to get the kids outside if at all possible. And on Wednesdays, that weather hotline will be updated at 4 p.m. So it's kind of a fine balance between waiting until close to game time so we can make that decision, and also giving everybody enough notice that they don't leave their house, you know, and head to the field before they get that message. Someone, it looks like Brett just threw into the chat, will this presentation be sent to attendees? Like I said, I am recording it. And so my hope is that we will be able to send that out to everybody. Okay, no worries. Yeah, I'll make sure that that's sent to everybody. And if nothing else, if not the whole recorded Zoom meeting, we'll at least send these slides out so that you guys have these to reference. Okay. Couple miscellaneous things. So coaches, as you're looking through your team schedule, if you feel like you want to schedule additional practices, you are able to do that. That would totally be up to you. If you and most of your players live out at Pine Brook, for instance, and you want to try to, you know, do something, meet at the park there. Really, most fields in town and in the basin are first come, first serve. We do have a number of club organizations that include Park City Soccer Club, Park City Youth Lacrosse, baseball teams who are what we consider stakeholders. And these stakeholders are They do hold scheduled practices as well as games at many of the fields, especially at the Park City Sports Complex. So if you're looking to hold a practice outside of the regular Wednesday or Saturday scheduled times at the sports complex, the best thing to do would be to shoot Spencer an email of what you're thinking, just to confirm. That way, at least we can get back to you and say, yes, there should be some open space out there, or no, there's a team practicing, or there's a game going on, that kind of thing. It is going to be tight at the sports complex because that's where a lot of things take place, including everything from high school sports to club games to rec leagues are going on this spring out there at the sports complex. But if you do want to schedule your own practice, we don't want to discourage that. So if you do go out there and you're holding your practice and another team shows up, be fair, be clear, try to work together with them, understanding that they are scheduled on the field. And so you might have to, maybe step off to the side, or make some room for them. So, okay, I'm not going to jump into questions just yet. If you have something that you want to put in the chat, you can, but I'm going to bring up some rules so that we can walk through those. And I think what I want to do, sorry, bear with me just 1 second. I'm going to try and do it this way. Spencer, I'm going to need you to tell me again if you can see what
Yep.
I'm looking at. So I know you can see the website right now, but I'm going to try and bring up the rules for 3rd and 4th grade. So can you tell me if you can see this document?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to talk through the 3rd and 4th grade division rules, but you guys will have, they'll vary a little bit depending on what division you're coaching this season. So starting off at the top here, we've got, the weather hotline again listed there. And basically, we put out like the basics to start with. So in the 3rd and 4th grade division, which is co-ed, they play 7v7, and that includes a goalie. So 6 field players and a goalkeeper. In 1st and 2nd grade, they play 4v4 with no goalkeepers. And in pre-K and kindergarten, they play 3v3 with no goalkeepers. I'm sure probably a lot of you guys have played soccer before, but occasionally we do get questioned about, the reasoning behind playing 3v3 when soccer, in the traditional sense, is played 11 aside. And I've played soccer for my whole entire life, and I'm a huge fan of the sport. And when I was younger and growing up, these little 3v3, 4v4, 6v6 games were so important to, the progress that a soccer player would make, because even though you've got 11 people out on the field with full-size soccer, they're really a whole bunch of little 3v3 games that are happening. There's a lot of, triangle work and that kind of thing, like moving without the ball to get into a triangle position so that you can be an option for a pass. So really these small-sided games are where it's at in terms of development with these young children. Another question here, will the schedule be sent to all parents, or do the coaches need to distribute it? So the schedule, I believe Spencer's going to send the schedules out to all of the teams, but they are also accessible on that website. So that's a great place to send your parents to. And, as a coach, if you want to send that out in your intro email, you could do that as well. So a couple different options there. Okay, players should wear their complete uniform to all games. We want them to wear cleats if they have them. Tennis shoes are totally fine. Sneakers are totally fine. All players have to wear shin guards. Kids are not allowed to participate without shin guards. And again, that's just a safety rule, which is our primary concern, that everybody has a safe and fun day out there. If you have a player who doesn't have shin guards or maybe isn't able to get them, reach out to us. We actually do have some extra pairs that we can possibly supply to them. So we'd be happy to help if we can. Let's see. So a couple notes for players in all divisions. Please don't add any players to your team without the approval of the recreation department, primarily of Spencer. I believe that all of the divisions are full, and so you shouldn't have extra uniforms in your bag. But if you do, we've got kids that are on the wait list who are really interested in playing. And to be fair, we want to make sure we can add them onto the teams as we go along, as opposed to just adding, your neighbor child or something like that. If you do have friends of your child who want to participate, please encourage them to get in touch with us and we'll get them on a team if we can. Okay, players should play at least half of the game regardless of their previous participation. Again, this is a learning league, right? So if a child misses a practice, they don't have to start the game, but they still must play at least half of the game. That does make it a little bit tricky, and someone will have to, keep an eye on subs, but we just don't want there to be a big discrepancy. And we certainly don't want it to be seen as like a punishment if a child's unable to make a practice for some reason. And then hopefully this will be easier in the pre-K and K divisions, but hopefully every player is experiencing all the positions on the field throughout the season. With small-sided games, the other benefit to it is that the kids are actually really playing in all positions, because especially if they're playing 3v3 and 4v4, it might take all three of them to get up there and score a goal, or all four of them to get up there and score a goal. And then if the other team counters, it's going to take all four of them on defense at the time. So the advantage is that they're seeing both sides of the ball that way and getting lots of touches on it. Okay. In the 3rd and 4th grade division, they will play, again, 7 players aside, including the goalie. If numbers dictate, teams can play with fewer players. And this is something that will come up from time to time, possibly, like I said, in the spring, weather, vacations, that kind of thing come up. And you may realize that one day you show up and your 3rd and 4th grade team only has 6 players there. So if that's the case, approach the coach for the other team, and maybe you can play, 5 on the field plus the goalkeeper for that day. Another option might be, if your team is really short, maybe the other team has players and you can share. So they could come over and play a half for your team, and a couple of the other kids can come over and play a half for your team. It's a great opportunity to teach sportsmanship and cooperation to the kids there. In the 3rd and 4th grade division, the games are 2 25-minute halves. In the 1st and 2nd grade division, they play 2 20-minute halves. And in the pre-K and kindergarten division, they play 2 15-minute halves. Because that's only a half an hour of time. The pre-K and kindergarten divisions are, they've got the field for the whole hour. So their first 15 minutes will be a short practice. So that's a great chance for the coach to get the kids excited about the upcoming game, work on anything that, you want to try and focus on for that game, and just basically get them started and warmed up. Let's see, there are some other differences as well. In the 3rd and 4th grade division, referees are supplied by Park City Recreation. Same goes for 1st and 2nd grade divisions. So we're going to do our best to have referees there for your fields if it's 1st through 4th grade. Pre-K and kindergarten are refereed by the coaches. So one coach from each team is allowed on the field. And that is actually true for 1st through 4th grade as well. Although we really try to encourage, at least by the halfway point of the season, that the coaches are off of the field in the 1st through 4th grade divisions and just allowing the kids to play. When we train our referees, we train them that this is a teaching position primarily. So they're going to be spending a lot of their time trying to encourage the kids, high fives all around. They're not going to remember the score if the kids ask them. They're just going to try to encourage everybody to do their best. And then they're also going to try to teach them some of the more important things, like how to take a throw in correctly or how to do a kick in correctly, the difference between a corner kick and a goal kick, all of those kind of things, as well as like offsides in that 3rd and 4th grade division. Okay, a couple more questions here. Oh, maybe not. Maybe someone playing with their keyboard or a child playing with a keyboard. Okay. Let's see. I'm just going to kind of go through the more important things here. All players must be on their own half of the field at the start of play, and they should switch sides after the half. Pre-K and kindergarten, I would encourage you guys to do that as well. I think it may depend on your team. It may depend on the day. It may depend on the game, where coaches feel more comfortable allowing their kids to stay on the same side. But soccer, the rules of soccer state that teams switch sides to make it fair. And so it would be great to kind of follow that as well. Yep, toddler got a hold of the keyboard. Okay, as mentioned, one coach per team is allowed on the field with the players. Limit that to only one coach, please. And then by mid-season, let's try and stay on the sideline and allow the kids to make those decisions themselves. And again, that's for the 1st through 4th grade divisions. Pre-K and K will always have a coach on the field to ref. Okay, the ball must move forward and be played by another player at the start of the game. And then these are the playing rules. So we're going to allow you guys, just because there are 3 different divisions, I don't want to confuse anybody by going through all of these, but they do differ a little bit. In the 3rd and 4th grade division, they will do throw-ins. In the pre-K through 2nd grade, they will put the ball back in play from the sideline using a kick-in. Okay? And you'll have a description of that in your rules there. Defensive players must wait behind the build-out line until the ball is kicked. That's written in red there. So let's talk about that build-out line a little bit. This is for, I believe, 1st and definitely for 3rd and 4th grade. Let me look really quick and see if the build-out line is used in the 1st and 2nd grade division. Unless you know, Spencer, off the top of your head. Nope, doesn't look so.
I believe it is.
What's that?
I thought it was.
Oh, I was looking.
Yeah, there's a build-out line for
Okay.
1st and 2nd.
Okay, so 1st through 4th play with a build-out line. So let's talk about those. The build-out line is a mark. I think this next page actually will show it. Yep. It's actually marked, as you can see, like halfway between the center line and the goal line. And what that build-out line does is it keeps your goalkeeper and your defenders from being under a ton of pressure when they need to get rid of the ball. So this actually assists them with decision making. And I think this might show it a little bit better down here. So,
hang on. The one for 1st and 2nd shows it really well. Like there's little characters on it and everything. It shows the build out lines really well. If you look at the 1st and 2nd rules. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm actually just going to stop that share and see if I can go to bring up those, because you're right. I did notice that there were different sort of graphics used in those there. So where is oh, it's actually that one though. Sorry. Okay. Let me go back here. Yeah, those little blue and red dots weren't that awesome. Okay, so here's our little people. And you can see that the red team has possession of the ball, or rather their goalkeeper has possession of the ball. So his defenders are right there next to him. And all of the players on the blue team have to be on the other side of that build out line. So that means that that goalkeeper has, less pressure on him and is able to make the decision of where he wants to kick that ball. He could kick it to the red player that's also on the other side of the build out line, or he can pass it to one of his defenders on either side. The important thing about that is that once the ball leaves his possession, the ball is in play, right? And so he will take that kick or that pass. And as soon as he does that, then the other players from the other team are allowed to approach the ball. Okay, so that's the build out line. And then the other important thing, I'm just going to go back to 3rd and 4th grade here, because the other important difference with 3rd and 4th grade is that we will also play using offsides. And offsides isn't introduced until, this later division, primarily because it can be really confusing. But in the divisions, kindergarten and 1st and 2nd grade, where offsides isn't called, it's important to remember that, we're playing on these really small fields and we've only got 3 players for pre-K and kindergarten. And we're trying to encourage them to, play offense together as a team and make some passes and play defense together as a team. So what that means is that if you designate a kid to play goalkeeper the whole time and they're stuck back there at the goal, then you've only got 2 offensive players up there trying to score. So we just ask coaches to be aware of that. Like, we don't want kids goaltending when there is no goalkeeper there. We would much prefer you to encourage the kids to all be involved in the play as it goes on. Okay, so offsides. As I mentioned, it is called in 3rd and 4th. It will not be called until the players have passed the build out line. So now in this diagram, you can see the build out lines are there and it says no offsides in the middle of the field. And that is, so it's not until a player actually passes that build out line that offsides will be called. It's going to be in this area here. Okay. If you guys need any more information on offsides or a description on it, if you are a visual learner like myself, YouTube is a great resource to kind of get that explained. And then of course, Spencer or I are happy to give you some more details on that as well. Okay. I'm going to skip over these for you guys to all read and let us know if you've got questions on those. But slide tackling is not permitted under any circumstance in any of the divisions. Headers are not allowed in any of the divisions. And again, with the recreational league, we're just concerned about safety. We want all the kids to have fun out there. Slide tackling obviously plays a role in professional soccer and soccer at a higher level, but it's tricky to learn and it's even trickier to perfect. So we want to make sure that in the meantime, nobody's getting hurt from that. Let's see, handballs will be coached against, right? So that basically means that the referees, if they see a handball, they're going to remind the players not to use their hands intentionally. So, but if they're protecting themselves or it's, unintentional, it doesn't affect the play. They're just going to play on. And that will be something, again, for coaches who have experience with soccer. Listen for that call from your referees. A lot of times, if they don't feel like there's been an infraction, or if there's an advantage or something like that, instead of blowing the whistle, they're going to be trained to tell the kids play on. And what that means is that they saw the handball, they saw, the trip or something like that, but it wasn't, something that they don't want to interrupt the play. They want to keep that going. Trust me, play is interrupted enough already with little kids. The ball goes out of bounds all the time and they're kicking it over the end line so much more. So we want the kids to be in the field playing as much as possible. On the flip side of that, our referees will also be trained that, if a kid goes down on the ground, especially if they go down in the midst of the swarm, and all of the kids are there, for safety reasons, they're going to blow the whistle. It doesn't necessarily mean that your team is getting a call against them or for them. It just means that they're stopping play as quickly as possible so that they can make sure that the kid is all right. And then they'll restart play in a fair manner. If it was a clear foul, it may result in an indirect kick. If it wasn't, they may have the kids do a drop ball or something like that. And that number 7 there kind of talks about that as well, like physical play, pushing, shoving, tripping. We're going to try and coach the kids against that and let them know that that's not permitted. And then at the bottom here, there's just a little bit more information about cancellations and rainouts. If we postpone them, we will reschedule them if time and field availability allow. We'll do our best to get as much playing time for the kids in this league as possible. But again, with that short season and so much going on the fields, sometimes it might not be possible, but we'll do our best for that. Again, those decisions regarding rainouts are made at 8 a.m. on Saturdays and at 4 p.m. on weeknights. The weather hotline will be updated at those times, and that's our first point of update. We will try to notify coaches directly when possible. because then we'll rely on you guys to pass that information along to your teams. But again, we want to get that weather hotline updated. And if you send everybody in that direction, then people will get that message as quickly as possible. Looks like we need to update this contact information on here for it to go to Spencer, and we'll do that and make sure that we get our webpage updated as well. Okay. How are we doing? Not even a full hour yet. That's pretty good. Okay, and that's kind of it for our slideshow. Spencer's contact info is there, and if you were to scan that QR code, that will actually take you to our Spring Youth Soccer website there as well. So hopefully you might want to, snap a photo of that or something, unless you've already gotten that website address noted somewhere. Spencer, do you have anything else that you want to add before we go to questions?
I don't think so.
Great. I'm just looking through my notes here to make sure I didn't forget to mention anything. Does anybody else have questions? Feel free to put them in the chat or just go ahead and ask. You can raise your hand too, I think, on Zoom. No?
Hey, Jess, there was a question in the chat about if the coaches should distribute the schedule and maybe send around the roster to the other parents. Is there a view on that?
Yeah, so that information is going to be sent to your parents at the start of the season. Although, it's not a bad idea for the coach when they send like their intro email to maybe, include those on there. You could definitely do that. But I would say the best thing to do would be in your intro email, send everybody to that website. Again, our Spring Youth Soccer site has rules, roster. Well, it doesn't have the rosters, I guess, on it. It's got rules and schedules, contact information, all of that stuff on there. So I would encourage you guys to send them to the website, particularly because occasionally, hopefully it won't happen too much and we'll have just terrific weather this whole time. But if we need to change schedules, we will do that, and then we'll update them on this webpage here. So that's going to be like your most up-to-date schedule is going to be found on this website. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Great.
Thanks.
Will you tell us if you make a change to the schedule?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll probably, if we do have to make like an actual change to the schedule, then which would be something like if we cancel games and then reschedule them for a later date, we would add that onto that schedule, like hard copy, and upload it to the website. And then we'll email the coaches directly with those changes. Anything else? You guys, again, thank you so much, for jumping on this. If one thing positive came out of COVID, I think it's the ability for us to do these kinds of meetings.
Sorry, I have one more question. Sorry. I just wanted to look at the schedule real quick to make sure it wasn't different than the one that we just got emailed. So I'm a second grade girls coach, and is this just a league size? Like, we don't have practice every Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's typical for all of them. Like if there's so is that's just a space issue, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, great question. So we realized, Spencer and I talked about this the other day, about changing our marketing to say some Wednesdays for certain divisions. And some divisions will play every Saturday and every Wednesday. And it's exactly what you said. It really just depends on the number of teams that we ended up with in the division. Occasionally, and Spencer can say for sure which divisions this is, but I know that one of them only has 7 teams in it, right? And so we're not going to, send the kids out there to play double headers. And so the other option is that a team may get a bye on a Wednesday. So what we did was we tried to go through the schedules and make sure that every team in a division, so if that's your first and second grade girls division, your team will meet the same number of times as every other team. hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's not an uneven number. I just didn't know. It's just like, sometimes it's 4 teams, sometimes it's 6 teams. Like, I don't know, it just seems kind of random.
Yeah, so it is, I'm sure it seems kind of random to you guys, and it takes a lot of coordination, right? Because we've got those first and second grade girls teams. We've got 7 teams in that division. We've got a first and second grade boys team that plays on the same size field with the same size goals. And so when you're looking at your schedule and seeing like there's only 1 game played on a Wednesday, it's probably because the other field times and fields are taken up by the boys divisions. On the flip side, the next Wednesday, it may be, you know, girls games that play at 5 and 6 p.m. and the boys only have 1 time slot there. So we're just divvying up the space as evenly as we can. Anybody else? Okay, as you're going through your, you know, the information that we've been sending you, and then Spencer, actually, did you talk about picking up equipment?
Yes, so
I might
all of the
have- sorry if I
equipment
missed
is ready to pick up. The older divisions, the 3rd and 4th, will be in the party room at the Mark. At least the boys, the boys 1st and 2nd is up here as well. The younger groups, as well as the 1st and 2nd girls, are all going to be down by the ping pong tables when you are on your way to the gymnasium. But all of those are ready for pickup. If you don't see yours, they should all be out here, but give me a call. My phone number is on there, and I will definitely come out and help you find it.
Yeah, Spencer and I are usually here, you know, regular business hours, but the Mark is actually open from 5:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, and open Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Sundays from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Just check in with the front desk as you arrive. They're all aware of the equipment and where the placement of that is. And so they can point you in the right direction or even help you find something if needed. And then if you come when, you know, like I said, during regular business hours, you'll get even more help with that. And then you can always reach out to us if, you know, if that's missing. Hopefully everybody will have a chance between now and the 16th to pick up that equipment. Okay. Thanks again, you guys, for jumping on here, and just keep us posted in how we can be of assistance to you. Thank you so much for your time this season. And yeah, hopefully everybody gets out there and has a great time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I didn't realize that Brett and his wife were going to be, I haven't looked at your list of coaches to see all who's on them yet. That's awesome. Ta-da. Thanks for your help,
Good job.
Spencer. Okay,
No,
see you in a
thank
minute.
you. All right, bye.
Bye.